Hello everyone, welcome to Listening for General Communication, an overview. In our everyday life, we listen a lot. To listen to a song, for example, or to watch some news, to listen to our mother giving instruction, or just to do some talk or conversation with our friends. In these different communicative activities, we need and we use certain strategies that are different from each other. Now, the listening strategies. In order to get the comprehension of listening, we use different strategies. Listening strategies are techniques or activities that contribute directly to the comprehension and recall of listening input. So this is what we do in order to comprehend a passage or a text. Listening strategies can be classified by how the listener processes the input. The first one is the so-called top-down strategies. Top-down strategies are listener-based. In this case, the listener taps into background knowledge of the topic, the situation or context, the type of text, and the language. So in this case, top-down strategies are similar to when we are sitting or standing on top of a building or on top of something or someplace high, and then we look out at our surrounding. So in this case, we pay attention to a very general or big picture of our surrounding. In this strategy, it is important to have a background knowledge. A background knowledge is our prior knowledge or our previous knowledge about the topic or the type of communicative text and so on. This background knowledge activates a set of expectation or prediction that help the listener to interpret what is heard and anticipate what will come next. For example, if we will listen to news, we will expect something like what happened, where it happened, why it happened, and so on. Top-down strategies include listening for the main idea, predicting, drawing inferences, and summarizing. The second listening strategy is the bottom-up strategies. Different from the top-down strategies, these bottom-up strategies are text-based. So the listener relies on the language in the message, that is, the combination of sounds, words, and grammar that creates meaning. This strategy is often used when we do not have any prior knowledge of the topic, so we rely heavily on the language of the text. Bottom-up strategies include listening for specific details, recognizing conates or similar words, and recognizing word order patterns. Also, strategic listeners also use metacognitive strategies to plan, monitor, and evaluate their listening. So this is a more holistic strategies rather than the bottom-up or top-down listening. First, in metacognitive strategies, listeners plan by deciding which listening strategies will serve best in a particular situation. When we will listen to song, for example, we will use different strategies from when we will listen to weather forecast, for example. Secondly, They monitor their comprehension and the effectiveness of the selected strategies. So this is done during or while listening. We monitor or we check whether we understood or we understand the information or the message of the passage. And then they evaluate by determining whether they have achieved their listening comprehension goals and whether the combination of listening strategies selected was an effective one. So this is done after or post listening. We evaluate or we reflect whether our choice of listening strategy is effective or not. Listening for meaning. In conclusion, to extract meaning from a listening text, students need to follow 4 basic steps. The first one, figure out the purpose for listening. Remember, different strategy or different purpose determines the different strategies. Activate background knowledge of the topic in order to predict or anticipate content and identify appropriate listening strategies. So this is done before we listen. Second, attend to the parts of the listening input that are relevant to the identified purpose and ignore the rest. For example, when we are in a train station, we want to focus on certain name of the train so that when the other train is mentioned, we will not focus very much on that name. Instead, we put a very careful attention to the name that we need. For example, the train of a certain train. So in this case, a listener must be able to select what is the relevant from the non-relevant information when listening. The selectivity enables students to focus on specific items in the input and reduces the amount of information they have to hold in short-term memory in order to recognize it. The third way or the third step is select top-down and bottom-up strategies that are appropriate to the listening task and use them flexibly and interactively. It is often that in one sitting or one listening activity, we have to change between top-down and bottom-up strategies. Sometimes we can also use simultaneously between these 2 strategies. In this way, your comprehension improves and your confidence increases when they use top-down and bottom-up strategies simultaneously to construct meaning. The fourth way is check comprehension while listening and when the listening task is over. Remember, our purpose of listening is to gain comprehension, is to understand the information or the message. Monitoring comprehension helps the students detect inconsistencies and comprehension failure, directing them to use alternate strategies.